Legion of the Damned, Wheels of Terror, SS General, just 3 of the 14 explosive novels penned by Sven Hassel, the mysterious author that haunted many of our childhoods with his war-weary fictional German Panzer soldiers and their adventures all over Europe. Even though apparently fictional, the writing was so good you sort of believed that the author was placing a lot of his own experiences into his books, which were almost all bestsellers. Indeed, the character Sven Hassel is one of the members of the Panzer unit. I hadn't thought about Sven Hassel for over 30 years, until I was filming some German medals and decorations at Jamie Cross Collectible Militaria, when he brought out this set of interesting objects. Army Panzer lapel tabs, an Army Panzer breast eagle, and the shoulder boards of an Oberleutnant in the 27th Panzer Regiment. And though these items are all perfectly genuine, they find an echo in Hassel's works in the exploits of the fictional 27th Penal Panzer Regiment, and its members, Sven Hassel himself, Legionnaire, Tiny, Porter, and Old Man. Thanks to Jamie Cross for stirring a literary memory from many decades ago, and I urge you to visit his website, link in the description box. Sven Hassel said that his books were essentially works of fiction, but were based on real people and some real events. Because the characters are part of a penal unit, they are expendable. Hassel portrays war as violent and hopeless, and his books are generally acknowledged to contain an anti-war message. Hassel's 14 novels, published between 1953 and 1984, were exceptionally popular in Britain, where he sold 15 million copies out of worldwide sales of 53 million. Yet I was surprised to find that in his home country, Denmark, he is not celebrated, and Hassel is still treated as a traitor, his books banned from public libraries. So who was Sven Hassel? And why is he considered a traitor in the land of his birth? Sven Hassel wasn't the real name of the author. That was Birger Pedersen, and he was born on the 17th of April 1917. He claimed an interesting military career. At the age of 14, he said that he joined the Merchant Navy as a cabin boy until returning to Denmark in 1936, where he completed his national service in the Danish army. He said that after Germany had invaded and occupied Denmark in April 1940, he joined the German army and served in the Panzer Arm, fighting on the Eastern Front and in the final Battle of Berlin, and surrendered there to the Soviets at war's end. He said that he then endured years in brutal prisoner-of-war camps before returning home to Denmark and becoming a famous author. The truth, according to many Danish researchers, was somewhat darker and more controversial. In 1953, Hassel had published his first novel, Legion of the Damned, which was a bestseller, and he became, over the following years, a very famous and celebrated writer, both in his home country of Denmark and around the world. However, in 1963, this all changed, when his story was thrown into doubt, when a Danish journalist named George Kringelbach revealed on national radio that far from being a veteran of the German army on the Eastern Front, Hassel was actually a Danish traitor who had collaborated with the German occupiers, and his claims to have served in the German army were nonsense. Hassel's Danish publisher Grafisk Forlag immediately dumped him as an author and offered book dealers a refund for Hassel's latest novel Monte Cassino. Another Danish writer, Erik Haste, also accused Hassel of being a fraud and a collaborator, and even went so far as to claim that Hassel's first novel was ghostwritten and that his subsequent works were written for him by his wife. In 2010, Danish public service TV channel DR2 produced a program all about Hassel, claiming that after 1963 Hassel had become an outcast in Denmark and had been forced to go abroad, and Hassel had indeed moved to Barcelona, Spain in 1964, where he would live for the rest of his life, and started his own publishing company, Bellum, to publish his novels. Later in 2010, the Danish newspaper Berlingske published another investigation by various authors into Hassel's wartime activities, until in 2023 a book, The Fake Lieutenant, by Martin Magnussen, a former Danish police officer, revealed that Hassel, real name Birger Pedersen, had attempted to join the Waffen-SS in 1941, but had been rejected due to his criminal record. A series of convictions for bicycle thefts in Copenhagen, and as posing as a Danish army lieutenant, this crime being used for the title of Magnussen's book. Like almost all the occupied nations of Europe, some Danes volunteered to serve the Nazi war machine. By February 1941, about 200 Danes were serving in the Waffen-SS. In June 1941, the Germans and their Danish collaborators organized a recruiting campaign for a Danish volunteer legion for the SS, which subsequently fought on the northern sector of the Eastern Front, returning to Denmark following heavy casualties in March 1943. A new Danish regiment was founded as part of the SS Division Nordland, fighting particularly in Yugoslavia and on the Eastern Front, and eventually the Battle of Berlin. Unable to join the Waffen-SS, Pedersen instead took a false name and in 1942 joined the German army, serving on the Eastern Front in Ukraine with a Panzer unit, so that part was correct. According to Magnussen, Pedersen would end up in a penal unit after being caught and punished for pretending to be a German veteran of the Spanish Civil War. However, it appears that Pedersen later absconded from the German army when he was on leave in Copenhagen and joined under his own name an organization known as HIPO, H-I-P-O, standing for in German Hilfspolizei, or Auxiliary Police. The organization was similar to the Gestapo, and its men wore a black uniform with Danish police badges. These men were all collaborators in the pay of the Nazis. HIPO members helped the German security police and the Gestapo to suppress the Danish resistance and the committing of other crimes, and Pedersen was alleged to have been involved in the torturing of prisoners. He was certainly among the over 200 former HIPO members captured after the war who were prosecuted by Denmark, and Pedersen received a 10-year prison sentence, but actually served only 4 years, being released in 1949. Thereafter, Pedersen announced that he was going to join the French Foreign Legion, but instead met his future wife, Laura, a film translator, and married in January 1951. Less than 2 years later, his first book became a bestseller. Pedersen lived in Barcelona from 1964 until his death, at the advanced age of 95 in 2012, and as Sven Hassel, his books remain popular today. Sven Hassel must therefore join the list of other famous authors who have, to some extent or other, collaborated with the Nazis, a list that included the Belgian author Georges Remy, better known as Hergé of Tintin fame, and the British author P.G. Wodehouse, who created Jeeves and Wooster. Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.